Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me on the channel today. We have Mango from Charged Particles. He's a community manager at the project. We're going to be talking about NFTs and all sorts of cool stuff. So Mango, thanks for being here, my friend.
Yeah, really happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think the best place to start is for you to give folks just a little bit of background on, how you got into the crypto space, what led you to Charged Particles, and all that sort of thing.
Sure. Yeah, I really started, I guess I bought my first Bitcoin, back in like 2013 or something, but wasn't really holding for most of that period. I don't think there's a whole lot of people in this space that have been for that long. And,
Yeah.
if they are, they're anonymous somewhere in Southeast Asia anyway. But I really started diving back deep into it when NFTs started, catching the attention of some of my friends who are artists, probably back in like early October or late September of 2020. And so I came in initially as an artist, just making art and exploring NFTs and getting to know about them that way. And then sort of through I don't know if you know Robin Schmidt, the Defiant, and the adjacent sort of like the meme community. There's a
Yeah.
really awesome sort of experiential art project called the Rug Pull that I was involved in, and met some really awesome people through there, which ended up leading me to Charge Particles, where I jumped on as the community manager back in December. And yeah, we've just been heads down building since then, and really excited to talk about the innovation our protocol is bringing to the space.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's a full circle moment, right? You start out in Bitcoin, you kind of stick with it, see what's happening, end up back in the space through art, which I think is actually a very common story nowadays. I think there are a lot of people who have found their way back or found their way into this space through NFTs and art and media. So that being said, I think it's a great segue. I would love for you to give folks that are watching just a baseline understanding of what charged particles is and why it's so powerful.
Yeah, so we're a blockchain agnostic NFT and DeFi protocol.
Mhm.
At the moment, we are forward presenting as a marketplace. Our decentralized app is an NFT minting station, and there's a featured art section, and it's totally open to use and fee free and all that stuff. But really, it's a protocol, it's a piece of tech, and it's a building block that we anticipate being integrated pretty unilaterally throughout not only the Ethereum blockchain and ecosystem, but other blockchains as well. We're also live on Polygon, and we'll be going live on other blockchains as well. But basically, it's a protocol that allows users to take their NFT and turn it into a container that can hold other assets inside of it, which sounds pretty simple at first, but the more you start thinking about the implications of this, you realize that there are tons and tons and tons and endless use cases, really. From music to charity to VR and gaming to financial tools and really like all sorts of stuff that would, we dive into on a pretty weekly basis. But, that means like putting other NFTs inside NFTs. So you could imagine like a collection of all of your favorite avatars inside one NFT that you can then transfer in one transaction. Interest bearing DeFi assets like through the Aave protocol. So now your art is earning interest and the price floor is constantly rising, and really all sorts of stuff. And we can dive into some of these things, but it's really a massive set of use cases.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, and that's what really drew me to this is the idea of sort of truly composable NFTs in the sense that, for example, in taking the avatar projects that are so popular right now as an example, one of the big, I guess, things that people talk about in that space is each of those attributes really is just sort of randomly assigned off chain, right? You're relying on somewhere external to sort of map your unique identifier on chain to those attributes. In most cases, there are exceptions, but if you could have each particular attribute as its own NFT and then sort of bundle that together in a root container that is your avatar, I mean, then you have like a truly on chain built avatar project. And I think there's just lots of cool things you can do with it.
Yeah, and then all of those traits and those accessories and things,
Mhm.
are then assets that can be removed individually and then have all of their own secondary markets. And
Yeah.
I think people are just starting to think about this, and obviously everyone's sort of playing the generative game right now. It's sort of a trend, I would say,
Yeah.
being able to load tokens inside of these things and define those traits as their own assets as their own tokens is a really interesting concept for sure. And there are a few people
Yeah.
trying to figure out how do we do this.
Yeah, no doubt. Is that, and this is just a personal curiosity, is that sort of idea of, basically, you know, charging a root NFT with other NFTs, sort of the origin of the name charged particles, is that what it's sort of an allegory for?
Well, initially, our founder and tech visionary Rob Secord, this project started in like January of 2020 or so,
Hmm.
and had a proof of concept out sort of late spring 2020. We've got the Twitter handle DeFi NFT, and so he
Yeah.
was obviously just ages ahead of the curve on that front. The initial concept was sort of as a brainchild, kind of related to the pool together concept and trying to figure out how bringing DeFi and NFTs together can innovate in spaces such as like a gift card or something that would be
Hmm.
earning interest, while you're waiting to use it or something like this. That was kind of like the primitive idea. But like the concept of like, what if you had a collectible, any collectible, not just these generative things, but like say an old baseball card from the
Hmm.
early 1900s, maybe 100 years ago. If you had like $100 taped to the back of this rare collectible, and it was earning 8% interest for 100 years, principally that thing would be worth $300,000 today, regardless of the value of the collectible. And so we're
Hmm.
seeing the bringing together of the implicit value of DeFi and the speculative value of NFTs, and seeing those two worlds merging. And these are
Hmm.
really the two major value points in the crypto ecosystem in general. And so helping to provide liquidity for all of this new art market, and really start to give it legs beyond just the trend and the hype cycles and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, so for a user that's sitting here today, August 20th, 2021, you're probably watching this multiple days later. I'm one guy, can only edit things so fast. But what can someone do on the Charged Particles platform? Like, what are some of the unique features and value add things that folks can do today?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to talk about some of the interesting things that have been done already.
Hmm.
So there's a sort of an affiliate partner group of artists called the Guild. It's
Hmm.
about 30 or 40 artists that are, doing these big collaborative projects. They've done some really cool stuff with async art. I think they sold an 88 Ethereum collaborative work with 33
Wow.
artists on async art. And so they were the first ones to really demonstrate this nested NFT capacity, right? And so we've got this NFT that's a container basically called Pandora's Box, and
Hmm.
all of the nested NFTs are what you might expect to find in the actual Pandora's Box, but 14 different contributing artists that have all put their NFTs into this one container, right? So you've got like hope and anger and greed and fear, all of the different nested NFTs. And it's also got some of our governance token, Ion X, in there, and it's got some wrapped Ethereum that's earning interest. It's just
Hmm.
this like marvelous collaborative offering that we've never been able to see before. On chain, non-custodial, totally permissionless, and
Hmm.
made on a fee-free platform. One of the really awesome innovations that like I think one of the first times where like a community member, it's like understands the protocol in such a way and innovated something that we hadn't thought of. Recently, an artist called Soundwaves Photon, is making these digital physical pieces. And we've seen that kind of all over the NFT space. The first person to buy this NFT, I'll also send you the physical edition of this oil painting or whatever.
Hmm.
And that's great. But, after that first sale, the second and third owners of that NFT can't be guaranteed that they'll get that physical piece. It's only a one-time thing. And so you could imagine now a utility token nested inside this NFT that you can use to redeem the physical copy. And so if the first person buys it, but they don't redeem it, that means that secondary market for the third or fourth person stays alive, and that you can guarantee that down the line, as that NFT moves through its provenance and history and stuff, that if that
Hmm.
token is still there, that physical copy can still be redeemed, which is a really fascinating use case for sure. I mean, there's so many different directions that this can go, like nesting
Yeah.
different songs in an album, and like locking it. So like over time, different songs come out over time and that kind of thing. And, starting to build index funds within an NFT. And, there's so much that, we could dive into.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's so many layers, and I think This is one of my favorite type of projects, which is really a general purpose set of tools and a framework for people to go and create what they can think of. And I think those are the things that give other creators the space and other developers the space to invent brand new business models and brand new things on top of it. And so that sort of that framework that you've built, and you've got this minting engine, does that abstract away some of the complexity around building these containerized NFTs for those creators?
Well, yeah, I would say in general, right? We're you know, a team that's moving towards community ownership. We like
Yep.
100% believe in decentralization. We have a governance token, and you know, kind of just strengthening the muscles of our community to prepare to become a functioning DAO, right? And eventually, you know, although at the moment we're a minting station where you know you can come and mint NFTs in the way you're used to and nest tokens in this, you know, and the only place you can do that, you know, really, like we said, or like I said, we're a building block, and so we want to enable other, you know, other projects to be using this technology to build whatever they can imagine, you know.
Mhm.
So we'd like to really be supporting all sorts of different industries. You know, we just kicked off our music guild. You know, we'll be starting to see like music platforms being built with this. The gaming guild is also kind of like right there, like building the first game out of this functionality where, you know, you can imagine all of these play to earn DeFi games, you know, how
Mhm.
powerful it would be to be able to nest tokens inside those NFTs that players are earning and generating and that kind of thing. It just adds like that important functionality. So we really hope to be supporting all these sorts of projects as they sort of take flight on their own from, you know, like from the decentralized organization as kind of the hub, so to speak.
That's awesome. So if someone's sitting there watching this right now, like me, their mind is racing with all these cool things they can think of to use this for, and they want to get involved in the community and support that DAO and help you achieve that goal of, a community run project. Like how can they get involved today and really do that?
Sure. Well, I mean, you know, it's an open platform, so you can come and use it and start building stuff. You know, we have some really fun sorts of like community-based projects that are going on. We're doing one like this week that's like the first decentralized NFT creation, where one person has an NFT and they mint another one and they deposit one inside the other, and then they pass the particle, and then the next
Nice.
person receives it, mints it, nests it, passes it, and so we have this long like Russian sort of babushka nested doll, you know,
Yeah.
that's made by the community, and we're going to auction it off for charity at the end. We're doing Taco Tuesdays, where every week we have a community member try to make an ingredient. So we're nesting all the ingredients in the taco and all sorts of fun stuff like this. But I mean, you know, if you want to get involved on the community level and, you know, join these conversations, get inspired, and find people, like-minded people to start building cool stuff with, our Discord is open, you know, following all the socials and that kind of stuff. We're at DeFi NFT on Twitter, and charged.fi is the website. And you can find all of the community stuff there. You know, so I would encourage you to, you know, join us for our community calls if you're interested, and
Hmm.
really, you know, get in as involved as you'd like to be. In terms of governance, our token went live a couple months ago now. IonX is our token.
Hmm.
So it's on Uniswap if you want to buy it. But at some point in the, you know, Q4, we're looking at by depositing a DeFi asset, an interest-bearing DeFi asset through our integration with Aave inside an NFT. You know, you'll be earning interest inside an NFT, but you'll also generate our governance token. You know, and so we're kind of incentivizing people to use NFTs as a savings account. You know, and leveraging their DeFi a second time over. You know, and so by participating in creating these nested DeFi assets, you'll also like increase your stake in the governance of the protocol.
Nice. I mean, that's the best way to go is to use the product and to be rewarded for using the product. That's a fantastic way of going about it. I mean, the other question that I have too is, you started to talk about like, some of the future leaning things, right? One of them being earning through utilizing the protocol. What are some of the other things that you've got coming that you can talk about at least throughout the rest of the year, maybe early 2022?
Yeah, well, you know, really it's starting to help uplift other dApps basically, and kind of
Hmm.
transitioning away from the charged particles art marketplace as the primary forward-facing sort of representation of the tech, and
Hmm.
starting to pop open more dApps. You know, some that are coming from the original team and some that are coming from community members, some of which I mentioned, like this game called Exo Jump, which will be the first, game that's built specifically with this tech in mind, a
Hmm.
music platform, and so like starting to see more of these dApps pop up and supporting their growth. And so those will be on their own sort of timelines. We'll see how fast each project goes. One of the things that we're really interested in helping bring to life, from our team, is the idea of like augmented reality geocaching. Where
Hmm.
you get a bunch of friends together, maybe you all put $100 into this treasure chest. It's like a augmented reality NFT, and it's hidden somewhere in your local area. And the first person to find it gets to collect the interest that's been earned. So no one loses their $100, but the longer the game goes on, the more valuable the prize gets. And so we're looking to, partner with some augmented reality teams and some geocaching teams, from inside and outside the space, and, building out like a game like this. On a personal level, working on building an experience called Thunderdome, which will be like a totally violent NFT versus NFT battle to the death kind of
There you
thing.
go.
Like two different artists, and the community can vote which piece of art they think is the winner by depositing violence tokens inside. And so whichever one has the most violence tokens inside at the end wins and moves on to the
Wow.
next round. And so there's really just all sorts of stuff that's captured our inspiration and our interest. It's just a matter of how much dev capacity and time we have to follow these to the end. But we
Yeah.
hope that other people will also be like, "Whoa, this is pretty wild," and will come and start building on their own.
Yeah. I mean, there are quite literally, I don't know, 15, 20 ideas that I've had through the course of this conversation that I'm just trying to like, make a mental note of. So, I mean, there's no doubt as this goes on and more people learn about this and start exploring, which I recommend anyone who's watching this does, and just continue, read more, get engaged, and see where it takes you. I'm sure you'll have some engagement from like-minded creators in that way. I have one last philosophical question for you. Maybe it's predictive, but what do you think is going to be sort of the first bastion of mass adoption in this sort of intersection of DeFi and NFTs? Is it gaming? Is it sort of the subset of gaming in AR VR? Where do you see that playing out?
Well, I think on a philosophical level, it's already happened, and I think like the NFT wave is that happening. In that prior to NFTs, the entire community was tech people and finance people,
Yep.
and NFTs have, as a tool, educated a huge new array of people about how blockchain works and why the self sovereignty and the borderless, permissionless, peer-to-peer nature of this technology is so powerful and impactful. And I think it's brought in a brand new demographic of innovators in the form of artists and these sorts of people that are now problem solving the same problems just with a totally different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's already happened. I think it now, like, bringing liquidity into NFTs will help strengthen it and ensure that each hype cycle is like, going higher and higher than the last one. um, I think, DeFi in general, and proof of stake as well, as mechanisms for, transitioning into a world where people are rewarded for participating. You
Mm-hmm.
come use the charged particles protocol, and you're incentivized to save money through a DeFi platform, and now you're like rewarded in our token. So it's not too far fetched to imagine, like, I go to the 7-Eleven down the street and I get some 7-Eleven tokens for having bought a Slurpee. And then I use this service and I get tokens for having used that service. And I'm just paid for just living my life in the way that I have been before, as sort of a transition into like a post-work hyper automated future that we're kind of moving towards. And, just like token rewards for this. I think like universal basic income is a huge sort of area that, should be explored more than it has been so far. And, by being able to bring art and DeFi together, I think, it helps, sort of bring a human emotional connection to these tools that were previously only numbers. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I think that those are all great points, and that's exactly why I wanted to ask that question. I mean, looking at all of the looking 10 steps down the line at what the foundations are right now, what we have today and what it could enable down the line is I think one of the coolest things. And I think it helps orient us in terms of the positive impact that this stuff has in a world that's most often focused on the negative aspects of it, and well, the negative aspects of basically everything. So yeah, definitely. So Mango, it was a pleasure speaking to you. I think anyone who's watching this probably is gonna go and check out charged particles and really start
Oh.
thinking about it. And that means that our job was completed successfully.
Yeah, well, it was a pleasure to come on here and speak with you, and I'm glad you're as excited as I am about this stuff, just because it's it's been infecting my brain the last like 7 or 8 months. I'm like, oh my God, you can do this and this and this and oh, oh.
Yeah, yeah, I know exactly how you feel. It was a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much. And anyone who's watching, thank you very much for taking the time to watch the channel. Please leave comments down below if you have questions. And until next time, cheers.